afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the third edition of the Emerging Africa CovidProof series. We sincerely apologize for the inability to log in and for the late start. It was due to some technical difficulties, but it has been resolved, thankfully. This series is powered by the Emerging Africa Capital Limited Group, an investment banking group aimed at providing superior financing and investing solutions. Globally, we have witnessed a rise in unemployment levels as companies have reduced their workforce drastically. Even in Nigeria, the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osibajo, recently stated that nearly 40 million Nigerians are projected to lose their jobs by the end of the year due to lockdown and social distancing measures put in place to curb the current COVID-19 pandemic. And it is for this reason that I am particularly excited that we'll be discussing today's topic, CovidProof Your Personal Career. My name is Tambari Ado, Compliance Officer for EAC Group, and your moderator for today. I am a lawyer by training, and I was called to the bar in 2013. I also have with me two esteemed members of the EAC management team, who I believe will do justice to today's discussion. My first speaker is Adai Jara. Adai Jara is the group head. Adai Jara is the group head wealth management at Emerging Africa Group. She's an astute corporate lawyer and possesses over 15 years experience spanning across roles in treasury marketing, private banking, business development, legal compliance, private trust, as well as wealth management. She has worked in various organizations, including United Capital PLC, Standard Chartered Bank Limited, and Fidelity Bank. She's a chartered wealth manager and a fellow of the Global Academy of Finance and Management. Please join me in welcoming Ada to today's chat.
Tambari, thank you very much for that very warm introduction, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for taking out time to join us in this session today. I'm looking forward to a very engaging session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ada. We're very happy to have you, and thank you for joining in. The next speaker is a veteran in the trustees industry. He is Olubusayo Adeni, a financial expert with over 20 years experience in office management, business development, and relationship management in financial services. His professional experience cuts across leading financial institutions such as the United Capital PLC, Stanbic IBTC, amongst others. Busayo holds a master's degree in business administration finance from Manchester Business School, and he belongs to several professional bodies. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Busayo to today's chat.
Thank you, Tambari, for the warm reception and introduction. I'm looking forward to quite an enriched session and an engaging session with participants. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Busayo, for joining in. We're very happy to have you.
Thank you very much.
So we have divided our outline into 4 segments. Ada will take the first segment, Busayo will take the next 2 segments, and then we'll have the Q&A section. Please feel free to use the Q&A box on your screen, the question and answer box on your screen, and ask your questions as the speakers give their presentations. So without further ado, we will just go straight to the presentations. Once more, we thank you, our audience, for joining in. Ada, please, you can lead with your presentation.
Thank you, Tambari. Before I proceed, may I request that you please put it on slideshow?
Okay.
Right. Okay, hello everyone. Thank you again for joining us in today's session. Like Tambari has already outlined, I'll be speaking on your personal career. Now, I'm by no means an HR expert, but I'm just going to be able to, draw on my experiences over time in the workplace. And I'm hoping that, that some of what we'll discuss today, or at least most of it, will resonate with you all. First of all, what's your personal career really? We just thought to start by even, just giving laying the proper foundation on what your personal career is. Next slide, please, Tambari. So we'll start by discussing what your career is, what a personal career is, and then we'll talk about the difference between the career and a job, because there are clear distinctions between the two words, which are often used interchangeably. Your personal career can really be defined as a combination of the jobs that you hold over a period of time. And this could actually include the titles that you earn over that period, as well as the work that you're able to accomplish over that long period of time. Now, there are three scenarios here that that we've listed out, and I'm sure you'll be able to place yourself in any one of these scenarios. Now, the first scenario basically is it may consist of you having taken several random unrelated jobs during the course of your work life, okay? So let's say, for example, you're fresh out of school, you join your uncle's advertising agency where you're just marking time until you get something that better interests you. And you spend about 6 months to a year there, and then along the line, somehow you get another job, maybe in a consulting firm, you do another 2-3 years there before you now move to another, maybe a banking job or something or the other. So you find that for some people, their own career pathway would have consisted of several random and unrelated jobs, okay? And I'm going somewhere. The second scenario where you could find yourself is where you're actually moving up within the same occupation. And professionals can relate to this, such as maybe accountants, doctors. So you have a scenario whereby a medical doctor, fresh out of school, gets a job at a general hospital as a medical officer 1, and then stays there and grows over time till he or she becomes a consultant. That's also the pathway for some people. Now, the third scenario that we've also itemized here is moving up the corporate ladder. And this will consist of you moving through a variety of positions within the same industry. And I'm sure bankers can relate to this. So you come into a bank, as a bank teller, along the line, you become a relationship officer, then you move to credit, you become a branch manager, and, basically grow through the ranks till you get to senior or executive management positions. So that could be the career pathway for some other individuals. But ultimately, having a career essentially will motivate you to learn more, to contribute more in terms of your unique skills and your unique abilities to the workplace, to have more of the same in the workplace, obviously as you grow in rank or you grow, you rise through the ranks, and then obviously to earn more, which is a major driver for a lot of individuals, okay? Next slide, please. Now, what's the difference between a job and a career? Now, I mentioned earlier on that these two words are actually used interchangeably, but the truth of the matter is that they both don't mean the same thing. Ultimately, a job can actually grow into a career, okay? But let me just define very quickly what a job is. So we've defined it here that a job can be, defined as something that you do simply to earn money. Okay, it could also have a minimal impact on your future work life in terms of maybe you have a stopgap job that you're doing while waiting for your big break and all of that. So during that period, you're pretty much just doing that, taking up that role because you want to earn some money to tide you while you work on your next big idea, if you're hoping to become an entrepreneur, for example. Okay, while a career, as I've mentioned in the earlier slide, is a series of very connected employment opportunities, okay? And a career provides experience and learning in order to fuel your future. Now, for me, the major distinction between a job and a career is basically on your level of engagement. A job can, contribute to your career and actually be a launching pad for your career to take off, but it's a function of your level of engagement. Now, if you come into a company where in your mind, you're just thinking, oh, I'll just be here for 1 or 2 years. Let me just save money so I can go to the UK to go and do my master's, or let me just stay here until something better comes on, then you're not going to be very engaged. And the truth of the matter is that when you're not engaged, your colleagues can tell, your line managers can tell. It's very easy to spot someone who's not really actively engaged in a position, okay? But when you're able to involve yourself in an occupation that you enjoy, that you wake up every morning with a sense of challenge, and you basically, you go at your daily tasks with a lot of enthusiasm and all of that, then you can say that you're actually engaged. And in the process, you can actually look at building a career along the lines, okay? Now, so many people got into banking, for example, by accident, and, over time, they've grown to love what they do, and they've made it their career, and they're doing well and they're thriving. So the emphasis really, for me, is on your level of engagement, and that will be what will distinguish you between a job and a career. If, however, you are not engaged, then it will just merely be a job, and you're not likely to do very well, even on that job, okay? Like I said, if you're disengaged, believe me, it shows. So the question you need to ask yourself today is, what you're doing presently, is it just a job for you or is it a career? And this question is important to answer because the topic, remember, is COVID-proof your personal career, okay? And if you're not, if you need to COVID-proof in the sense that the statistics that Tambari shared earlier, during her introduction, when she mentioned that the vice president made an announcement earlier on this week that about 40 million jobs will be lost before the end of the year. Now, those are very alarming figures, and I'm sure for a lot of us, there's that deep-seated fear that, oh, what if I'm among this 40 million? So it's important that you do that distinction today. Sit back and really just reassess where you are in regarding your job or your career pathway, and tell yourself, is this a job or is this a career? Okay, and if you decide that this is a career, then you need to sit up and fight for your shirt in the workplace, or even as a business owner as well. Okay, so ask yourself that question. Now, there's certain things. Next slide, please, Tambari. Thank you. Now, there's certain things that you need to look at in order to COVID-proof your personal career. And I'll just go through them very, very quickly, okay? First of all, you need to thoroughly understand what your job description is. I know it might sound funny, but the truth of the matter is that so many people that find themselves in the workforce don't really understand why they're there. And because they really don't understand why they're there, they're not likely to do very well, are they? So, as far as I'm concerned, you can't succeed at something that you know very little about. And I'll give an example. 6 years ago when I joined trusteeship, before this time, and I'm sure the lawyers in the house can relate, before this time, equity and trust was some esoteric course that you just had to get through in order to get your law degree. And so I just did enough to just get by and move on. But coming into trusteeship about 5-6 years ago, what struck me first of all is that, oh, this is a new field. This is something that I really need to understand. And I was voracious about reading everything I could lay my hands on regarding trusteeship. Okay, because it was very obvious to me that if I don't understand what this is all about, then how exactly am I supposed to succeed, much less thrive, even in this role? Okay, so you need to believe in yourself, even when others don't. Believe in yourself, and regardless of whatever thoughts or whatever comments might come at you, either in the entrepreneurship space or even in paid employment space, you need to believe in yourself and keep at it. Seek to thoroughly understand your job so that you can actually succeed at what you know a lot about, okay? Now, being creative. Now, in my mind, I know we hear that, oh, be creative, be proactive and all that, but for me, it's really a function of knowledge as well. You can't exactly be proactive or creative in a role or a job that you don't understand or that you know very little about or you have very little interest in, okay? So it's really a function of knowledge. So seek to read everything that you can, get mentorship. Okay, don't be afraid or don't be ashamed to seek for counsel as well. I have a bunch of mentors. Some of them know they're my mentors and some of them don't. So for some of those mentors, I'm really just stalking them from afar, okay? But really seek for mentorship and then, look at people that are, occupying positions that you look at, you want to see yourself in the years to come, okay? You need to also get organized as well. And then when you're organized as well, then you can then begin to say, okay, what are my dreams? What are my goals? What are my skills? What are my passions? Because these are the factors that you need to ultimately consider in choosing a career. A career does not happen overnight. You can get a job overnight, but you cannot get a career overnight. That takes a lot of doing. It takes a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. Well, not figuratively, but not literally, but figuratively. It does take a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. But you need to sit down and first of all say to yourself, what are my dreams? So your dream basically is essentially a mental picture of what you expect your life to deliver. It's a vision of what you think your life should be like, maybe 10, 15, 20 years from now, okay? It's also an idea of a purposeful and fulfilled destiny. Now, career, when you do have a career, it can lead to having a very purpose-driven and fulfilling life, okay? And I'm sure people that have come to the pinnacle of their careers can actually testify regarding this. Now, it's very instructive to know that if you cannot picture your future, then it'll be difficult to feature yourself in it, don't you think? Also, you also have to think about your goals. What are the goals that you set for yourself? Now, every human being on God's green earth should have goals and aspirations. If you live a life without goals, then it just means that you're more or less just coasting from those random unrelated jobs that I mentioned in an earlier slide. Okay, so what are the expressions of the things that you want to achieve for yourself in life? What are the activities that you think you need to follow through in order to achieve this purpose, okay? And then ultimately when you decide on this, it helps to give you more motivation and keeps you positive and keeps you, help you keep your eye on the ball. Even when maybe on the job or maybe you have a stint or maybe you lose your job at some point or, life doesn't work out quite the way you planned. But when these goals are just firmly in your mind's eye, it gives you more of a razor sharp focus and you're able to actively work towards achieving these goals. what are your skills? That's another factor that's very important in choosing a career. Now, you need to understand yourself. If you understand yourself, okay, because a lot of times you find that people are just, like I said, they just see work as, oh, it's just something, I'm just even relieved that I'm not even in the job market anymore. And I can totally relate with that, because I mean, we all know that in this part of the world, unemployment is still a big issue. Okay, but just realize that in choosing a career, you need to appreciate what your competencies are. What are those things that come to you naturally? Okay, and what are those things that can actually add a bit of something to simply by acquiring more training, you know, either through direct experiences or through even just sustained effort. During this COVID-19 program, we've all been working from home. There are lots of online courses that you can undertake. If it's project management, content creation, there are just so many things that you can get online and discover. And those things will ultimately add to your skills that you have to begin with, okay? And then what are your passions? So your passion is essentially having a strong feeling of enthusiasm for a particular task or particular ideal, okay? And it's a driving force typically behind most people's dreams. So a lot of times when you're able to marry your passion, and it's also something that actually puts food on your table or pays your bills, then I would think that you have the best of both worlds. And I'm sure sportsmen can relate. Frankly, I envy sportsmen, because I think a lot of them would play football or play any of the games that they play for free. And they're just lucky that they actually now get, you know, paid millions and millions of dollars and pounds for doing something that they actually enjoy doing, okay? Next slide, please. Right, so I've talked about a few things that you need to consider really in choosing a career, okay? But so how important is your personal career? And that's something that you need to decide within yourself, even in this COVID-19 period, okay? The truth of the matter is that jobs will be lost. Businesses are going to, you know, experience a lot of contraction, and ultimately this might lead to them having to lay off certain people, okay? But remember that at the end of the day, your personal career is a journey. Okay, it's not just a one-stop, one role, one organization mentality or mindset that you need to have. You need to understand that your career over time is something that will help you achieve your purpose and live an ultimately fulfilled life. So one of the things that you need to look at, you know, in considering how important your personal career is what are your goals? Are you able to identify your goals? Like I've mentioned also in an earlier slide, what are your biggest wishes? Can you connect your inner desires with those rational goals? Now, we all know that goals always have to be smart, they have to be measurable, they have to be, you know, realistic and all of that, and they have to be time bound, okay? So in deciding how your career is going to go, you need to actually, you know, set milestones for yourself in terms of goals. Oh, I want to be this by 30. I'd like to be this by 35. I'd like to hit this by 45. I'd like to retire at 50 and have my own outfit. I mean, your career pathway could just go about it could go any way really. Okay, so you need to build a professional resume. What are you good at? And that's why a personal career is important. If even as a paid employee now, you still have dreams and aspirations of becoming an entrepreneur down the line, you must realize that seeing yourself in a job or in a particular role, you shouldn't approach with levity, because ultimately it's the experiences. I tell my downlines all the time that whatever you have in your head, nobody can take it away from you. Okay, so it's your business to empower yourself. It's your job essentially to build up a professional resume for yourself. Okay, and ultimately this professional resume will hold you in good stead if and when you do decide to move on to running your own enterprise or your own business. You also need to leverage on your strengths, okay? Now, you need to understand what your strengths are. Remember I said you need to be creative and proactive. You need to get organized. You also need to see yourself as a brand, to be honest. See yourself as a brand. So what are you putting out there? What's your unique selling point as an individual? What makes you unique? What can you do that comes so easily to you? You need to leverage on those strengths. And if you leverage on those strengths properly, they're able to open doors for you throughout your career span, okay? And then you also need to assume responsibility. Now, this is very important. And I tell people that in this COVID-19 era, you know, now in my organization, for example, I'll just give a quick example. In my organization, for example, we had individuals who were maybe like front-facing staff or market-facing, well, not market-facing, but front desk officers and all of that. Now, in this period now that we've been working from home for several months, we then looked at it as an okay, instead of laying these people outrightly, laying them off outrightly, how can we upskill them? How can we, you know, afford them with the opportunity to actually assume more responsibility and pivot, you know, to some other work, to some other work, some other type of work, basically. And we did that ultimately by, taking them through a training, and they've now become our digital personal financial planners. Okay, and they've approached this with a lot of enthusiasm because even they realize that this is giving them another lease of life, so to speak, in the course of their career pathway. Okay, so don't be afraid to assume responsibility. Ask your line manager, what more can I do? Don't think because you're working from home that you don't think you can just get away with doing the bare minimum. Assume responsibilities. Ask your line manager, what else can I do? What else can I do? And know that all those things and those skills that you're adding to yourself, nobody can take them away from you, and they will always hold you in good stead even as you proceed in your career. Finally, I want to talk about networking. I cannot overemphasize the importance of networking. And I say to people that it's important when you see yourself as a brand. First and foremost, you have a personal brand. You're working in an organization. The brand of the organization is there, but you also need to have a personal brand as well. So what is it about you? What is it that you're putting out there? Why should people want to do business with you? Why should people want to engage with you or discuss any meaningful enterprise with you? It's a function of the kind of relationship that you're able to actually grow and sustain. Okay, and when you grow and sustain these relationships right, they can actually serve you through your life and not just in that particular organization where you're working. Okay, so look at networking. The beautiful thing about social media now is that it gives you access. You can access any CEO. You can access any CEO in the world, literally. Okay, I find that when I get LinkedIn requests and all that, sometimes the ones that come with the little notes, oh, we met so place, I enjoyed your presentation and all of that. Some personal notes attached to that connection request. Ultimately would always make no matter how busy I am, say, oh, okay, I want to talk to, I'd like to get connected to this person. So just know that you don't just send random connection requests even on the LinkedIn. Site, okay? Add a short personal note to it. Make the person see you as an individual, as somebody who they would like to engage with. And then from there, you can actually grow that relationship, and the sky will literally be the limit. I have a lot of other points that I wanted to talk about, but I see that time is not our friend at the moment. So I'll just let Busayo get on with his own part of the presentation. Thank you so much. And please leave your questions. We'll be happy to take them all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ada, for that beautiful background that you're giving to personal career. Few key points. Note, career takes time, and career, it provides experience and learning to fuel your future. In few minutes, I'd like to actually draw examples. And I would be taking them from the perspective of an entrepreneur, a young graduate, or a fresh employee, an experienced employee, a professional, or someone occupying the position of leadership, like a CEO or executive director. When the going gets tough, the tough gets going. Next slide. As an entrepreneur, how do you ensure that you are still relevant with the challenges that times is bringing forward? Number one thing that comes to mind is to actually address the questions that are put forth by circumstance at such a time. You look at realistic questions. And what are those questions? What problem can I solve with the current situation? What value am I delivering with my current product and services? And then you look at, is there a better way by which those products could be delivered to my end users? And what other services, if this current services or product that I have is not actually bringing expectations to bear. So you look at what are the other services that you can provide to increase your revenue. And after that, you brainstorm ideas. You do not hold it to yourself all alone, because problem shared is problem solved. And so look for people around you with whom you could actually share your ideas and who could help that idea or even give you better ideas and give you maybe solutions as to better ways by which you could make that idea work. So share those ideas with him or find networking opportunities. Believe it or not, right now there are opportunities, so many opportunities that these challenges are brought forward. And identify the opportunities that best suit your interest. Then you consult about appropriate business advisors. Imagine Africa is there. In the later part of my presentation, I'll talk about how we can help you. Then you address the fears, because in bringing forth your ideas or throwing it up or brainstorming about it, you could actually see certain skill gap that needed to be filled. Do not be afraid to actually approach it, upskill yourself, get new skills. I recall in the meltdown of 2008, 2009, when there was economic crisis. It was then that I actually went to further my education and took up a skill in financial services. I looked around and identified an institution that could actually provide for my needs today and the need for tomorrow. So upskilling. So unknown to me, at the end of 2009, I was thrown out of job. But because I've actually gotten the right skill that will make me to be relevant to the industry, I was able to pick another job within few months after leaving that job. So you need to just get yourself upskilled at such a time like this, and such opportunities exist over the place. There are so many free internet training now, and even those ones that may not be free, they are at reduced cost. During this lockdown, I took up another IT skill on managing Microsoft Teams, and within 3 days, I got certificated on another level of skill. So you could actually use the opportunity of this time to upskill yourself. As a fresh graduate, there's a slide before that. There's a slide before that that talks about the checklist of an entrepreneur. There are so many lessons you actually get out of the first slide that I discussed. The first is that you make sure that you make your product available to people, and then you get connected with people. And that has emphasized so much on networking. Networking is the key next to all you could do by yourself. And go to the next slide. So as a fresh graduate, how do you get yourself relevant to time? How do you COVID-proof your career? Number one, you utilize social media capabilities available at your disposal. For example, if you are a young graduate that is still looking for a job, get your profile on LinkedIn and ensure that you have testimonials about what you did while you were in school. All those extracurricular activities that you are involved in, get them on your page, and then get people who knows you to give testimony about what you are able to do. Then prepare and reflect. Always ensure that you explore career options and paths, having clear goals for your long time. Like Ada mentioned it, that career is a journey. You should ensure that you have definite stated goal about your future, and this will actually guide whatever you do. Then seek new opportunities to contribute. There are a lot of opportunities around that you could belong to. There are relevant volunteer jobs that you could be involved in, and that can actually place you right visible within the environment. And by that, you can tap into opportunities ahead of you. Then you keep learning and learning, upskilling yourself, embrace opportunities to try new things and learn new skills. There are certain websites that can help. Coursera, Toastmaster, YouTube, professional associations as well. So get yourself acquainted with them. Then leverage the power of networking. Ada has discussed so much on this. Then move to the next slide. Okay, this was a slide I was talking about on entrepreneurial checklist. You need to understand the new market dynamics and have a plan B. Then reevaluate and seek funding opportunities if necessary. We are available to give you a guide in this regard. Then future-proof with digital innovation. That is very, very, very key. People who are not digitally oriented at such a time like this will find it very difficult to expand their reach. So make sure you are tech savvy, and then you strengthen your research capability as well. Then after doing that, you need to put relevant securities in place so that your wealth will not be hijacked by any form of interruption. Next slide. Then for employees, those are the next set of people. How do you keep yourself relevant on your job? Number one, you need to stay productive. Keep your productivity up and continue to produce quality work. Let your work speak for you. Then stay relevant. You need to do more than what you are asked to do. Get yourself involved with everything in your organization. Expose yourself to cross-functional work by showing interest in supporting the effort of your colleagues or team members in completing outstanding tasks. Volunteer for outside projects or side projects of your company that allows you to demonstrate and develop other skills. Then evolve and upskill. I mentioned that earlier on, that you need to get new skill. Ensure that you don't get encumbered by what you are doing right now and not actually preparing for your future. You need to get, I made example of myself. Then in 2008, I had to pick up an MBA program in Manchester Business School. And within a year, I got that qualification, and then today, that is relevant to what I'm doing. Then continue to network. Networking is very, very key. It has been well discussed earlier on. You need to get yourself with relationship, business relationship, and then even social relationship as well. Next slide. So as a professional, how do you stay relevant? How do you COVID-proof your career? You need to digitalize. You need to get your business visible. You need to put it in the limelight for the world to see. The world is a global village now. So if you want to actually continue with the trend, the digital opportunities, you need to take advantage of it. Let your voice be heard. Create a blog, write articles, implement social media strategies. Then CEO for your site for visibility and build authority in your market. Then you need to evolve in your skill as well. You need to get new skills and then ensure that you are not lacking in any area of your professional career. Then you need to view problems as growth opportunities. A lot of people see this time throwing challenges, but while the challenges are there are so many opportunities that this time has brought forward. Take for example, before the lockdown, Lagos State stopped the Go-Kada business. But now they are they are relevant because so many food vendors need to distribute their food. They need they're using all these bicycle let me say cycle owners to get their product to the people that consumes them. So you need to see that the challenges around now gives enormous opportunity. So how do you get into those opportunities? Link up with your world and then ensure that you are not really on your own alone, and then seek for advice, and you will definitely get better than you imagine. The next slide. Next slide talks to the level of leadership. The typical responsibility of a CEO on job description includes communicating, leading, and then creating and implementing strategy. As a CEO, how do you COVID-proof your career at such a time like this? You need to constantly communicate. You need to engage with your stakeholders, engage with your shareholders, engage with your customers, and then the public as well. You need to engage with them. You need to make statements about your business, and then get involved in CSR. Ensure that you are contributing to whatever the social problem in the environment. Now, take for example, the government have been looking for people who will actually support on this COVID-19 health issues. You no matter how little it is, get your organization involved, because a little water makes the ocean. So ensure that you are communicating, and then you get involved in CSR and all those activities as well. Throw them to the public, send them on there, let them know the activities that you are involved in and what you are doing to improve your services as well. And in terms of your leadership, you're meant to provide leadership for the organization. You're meant to see ahead what is the next and how will the organization grow into the foreseeable future. Research, make various research as to how you could actually enhance your business. And then in terms of creating and implementing the organization vision and mission, look at the vision again. What can be done? What is it that you could actually use to do to enhance the vision? And so, in a nutshell, the CEO will have to reestablish relationship and then network as well. Look at your network, then embrace leading remotely. Like in our own organization before the lockdown, we already see ahead and we have planned, and then we've been working remotely. So by the time the lockdown came, we are not caught unawares. We've been working. And up till now, we've been working remotely, and we are effective in our operation. And we've deployed all the necessary processes and then the infrastructure that will enable us. So you must leverage on technology and digitally enabled process. That is, you use technology. You can't actually get your organization in the forefront if you're not taking advantage of the relevant technological infrastructure that are available. Then prepare and reflect, and then make plans for the present and the future. You need to be thinking about the next 1 year, about the next 5 years. What are those what are those activities, and how do you want your company to be in the next 5-10 years? Looking at the situation at hand, then strategically identify the business that most importantly challenged in your business. You do an internal analysis. Look at your business. Where is it that you have challenge, and then proffer solution to it by sitting together with your team and then brainstorming together and bringing new innovation into those areas. Then be aware of the coming change. You see, the new normal is around now, and so you must carry it in your thinking that the new normal will stand from henceforth. And how do you ensure that your business continue? You must put it into your plan now and the future plan. Next slide. So how do you make yours a success story? You can make your own a success story, and four C's have been identified by which you can make your own a success story. One, you must be very curious. You must be curious. Curiosity is very important. Find it out. What is happening outside there? Don't just sit within. Don't be carried about the activities of today. You must always be curious about what is happening in your industry and what is happening globally. Then two, you must be confident. You must have that inner assurance that you will succeed despite the situation. You must always reinforce that with your team, that in whatever we're doing, we will surely get there. And that should be the belief of everybody within your team. The can-do spirit must always be there. Then you must have the courage, the boldness to face challenges. Whatever the situation is, you must adapt to change, because the only thing that is constant to life is what? Is change. Then you must be consistent, follow through in everything you do. And what are the strategies that you can use or that you can deploy to make yours a success story? One, train your staff and be ready to provide support. We must provide support. Like I mentioned earlier on, we prepared our people before the pandemic, before the lockdown, and we gave necessary support, infrastructures that will enable them to perform, to deliver. We've given to them, and continually, Adam mentioned it that a few weeks back, we just trained some of our staff to actually take new challenges on their job. Then you take advantage of remote jobs as well. Then rethink your supply chain. You must look at it. How do you get your product to the end users? How do you get your services to those that need your services? Then explore new marketing tactics. Explore funding options for business continuity. Like I mentioned, we are available here to actually support you in that vein. That's part of what we do. Then be more creative, strategic, and be culturally aware. Then next slide. How can EAC help you? We support and help businesses to access funding to meet working capital. We prepare, we help in preparation of business plan to cover the brief background of the company, product offerings, profile of the board and management. We help in preparation of marketing teasers as well. We have a couple of experts in our team handles this. Then restructuring. We can help you to restructure your local and external obligations. Then we help in merger, acquisition, corporate reorganization, and lastly, in project finance. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Mr. Busayo. Thank you, Busayo. Thank you, Ada. You would, our audience, you agree with us that this has been a very enlightening section. Before we go to the question and answer, Ada, please, you can give your next insight.
Oh, thank you very much, Tambari. I just wanted to add a bit more, just put the communication points that Busayo talked about when he spoke about, how a CEO really can COVID-proof his or her career. And in as much as communication is a major part of, the work of a CEO, it's also something that in this COVID-19 times that every CEO indeed should actually apply a lot of wisdom. And I'll tell you why. Now, at this point, everybody's at home, we're all, everybody's on social media, putting out all sorts of content. And the truth of the matter is that it's a content that you put out on your social media handles, believe it or not, is what gives people an insight into how your mind works, and people can, somewhat put together a mental picture of your person simply by the kind of posts that you put out on your social media handles and the kind of statements that you're putting out. So, and this applies even to employees as well. Okay, so this is a time to be very careful with the kind of communication that we put out. I mean, there are numerous examples of people that overnight have lost their jobs because of something that they inadvertently put out on their social media handles. There's actually one that, that just happened quite recently that I've actually been following. I don't know how many of us know about the CrossFit CEO, Greg Glassman, who set up a business over 20 years ago, and we're talking about a multi-billion-dollar business. And he's had to step down now as CEO, and he's facing a lot of flack, you know, from his shareholders, from his stakeholders. People are, you know, all the endorsements and all of that. You know, people are actually, you know, turning their back on that business simply because of some inadvertent comments, you know, that the CEO made. You know, so I just want to just point it out that even in this COVID-19 times, it's also an opportunity for you to actually work on your communication. You can sharpen your communication skills. And if you do need to get help as a CEO in order to manage your social media handles, please go ahead and get that help, okay? But it's important that everything, you know, that you look at everything, you take a holistic view in terms of your functions, even at this time. I know that, you know, communication can actually make or mar your business, even make or mar your job in this COVID-19 time. So that's just what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ada. Okay, we have a couple of questions, so I'll just read them out. Ada, you spoke about, you know, identifying your strengths and your unique selling point. Adekola Aluko is asking to know how he can identify his unique selling point.
Okay, thank you, Adekola, for that question. And it's very important, and it's a great question that you asked, so thank you very much. Now, if you're talking about your unique selling points, the context in which I used it was for you as a person, as opposed to just your organization's unique selling points. Okay, so in identifying your unique selling points, I think that was a slide where I was talking about goals and dreams and gifts and skills and all of that. So it's important that you look at, you need to understand yourself, right? You need to understand yourself, you need to ask, and sometimes you might even need to ask for, you know, ask from people around you. What do you think, you know, what do you think makes me special? What is it that you've noticed that I do with ease? Because sometimes we don't always see ourselves the way the people closest to us can see us. So you can start by doing a self-audit, and you can get your family and friends on board to actually help you identify, and okay, what are those things that you think that I do so well, you know, that you think come easily to me? That could be a start in the right direction. Now, in considering your USP in order to get ahead in the workplace, you would then need to target you would then need to look at your target audience. So for instance, if you're a market facing staff, you need to look at your target audience, okay? So who are the people that you're most likely to sell the products and services of your organization to? Okay, what's the demographic? Are they millennials? Are they older people, maybe retirement age or something? So those are things that you need to pencil down. And when you then, identify what your target audience is, you can then, you know, channel those unique selling points of yours, or those special gifts, or those special abilities that you have towards actually targeting your audience. And this can ultimately, you know, help you get ahead in the workplace. Because if you find that you're able to actually engage with people of retirement age, for example, that could be your unique selling point in selling, I don't know, life insurance to them or something, you know. So it's really just about doing that self-audit, getting friends and family to help you identify those things that are unique about you, and then, you know, and then channeling it towards your target audience, because you want to turn those unique selling points to things that can actually help you get ahead in the workforce and ultimately COVID-proof your job. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ada. Busayo, this question is directed to you. What advice would you give to a young person currently working a job that they're not passionate about, or which they took just to make ends meet?
Thank you. That question is very, very is timely, because so many people today have found themselves in jobs that they're not passionate about. While doing that job, you can always develop yourself to attract the job that will give you your passion, that will actually feed your passion. So what I would say to you is that keep upskilling yourself, and then networking. One day you'll find the right route. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Busayo. Ada, this next question is directed to you. Uko wants to know, sorry, I'll just read out the question.
Okay.
I agree with you that Whereas a job can happen overnight, a career takes time. What advice would you give a young lawyer who has recently moved from traditional law firm practice into corporate world as a compliance officer? What tips would you give such lawyer to probably properly evaluate and prepare them for a new experience?
Okay, thank you, Uko. That's a great question. And if you recall, I think one of the slides that Busayo spoke about in saying, in speaking to how we can make yours a success story, he mentioned the 4 C's, and one of the C's that he mentioned there is curiosity. So my advice really, because I totally get it, because I've also had that same sort of experience, moving from a traditional law firm to the corporate world, to financial services. It can be a bit of a change, really, to be honest. But the truth about it is that you need to stay curious. So what I would recommend is that in the first place, it's your job really to get along with your boss and not the other way around, okay? It's your job to get along with your line managers and not the other way around. What I would advise really is that you take out time, maybe find a time when your line manager is in a good mood, and just go and just sit with him or her and ask questions as in, okay, fine, what are your expectations from me on this role? Don't just assume, don't just take the job description or whatever the job objective or the JD that was assigned to you at the time you started the job. Make out time to go sit with your line managers, if there are one or two persons, sit with them and ask questions, because you need to stay curious, okay? Ask questions. How can I succeed in this role? What are the things that you expect from me? You'll be amazed at it, that maybe the things that you are looking at are really not the things that your line managers are looking at in assessing whether you're doing a good job or not. So stay curious and ask questions. I think that would just be the major tips that I can give at this time. All the best.
Okay, thank you so much, Ada. This next question is from Damola Olatunji. The question says, how can young entrepreneurs who are striving to keep their businesses afloat contribute to CSR initiatives? Which should be prioritized by entrepreneurs? Lowering internal costs, that is by cutting pay or laying off, or CSR initiatives? Mr. Busayo, please, you can answer this.
Well, what I would say to you is that there is no CSR cost incurred by a business that is lost. It's part of making your business visible. And if you need to move beyond where you are, you just need to incur certain costs that will actually take you to your destination. You need to get involved. It's just like a traveler who needed to go to London. Will always, yes, the cheapest way of going could be by sea, but the fastest way will be by traveling by air. And so it's costlier to go by air, but you achieve your aim faster than you think. So that's how CSR is. And don't be surprised that somebody will ask you about that business when you get involved in CSR. It may not be much, it's not so much cost. And there's some even CSR that does not involve cost. It will just be a set of activity.
Okay, thank you so much, Busayo.
Thank you.
Our next question says, how do you ensure confidentiality in the area of corporate meeting online? Ada, please take this.
Thank you very much for that. That's a great question. And I think that's something that, a lot of organizations are struggling with at this time. What I would recommend really is that most organizations have a legal department, I would imagine, or at least somebody who does legal and compliance functions for them. Now, if at the time of staff coming into the workplace, they didn't sign a non-disclosure agreement, then now would be a good time to actually circulate those documents amongst all staff, okay? So you need to get all your staff to sign non-disclosure agreements, and confidentiality forms, which will be basically filed alongside all their HR documents. Now, why I said this, because a lot of times, and a lot of information that comes out into, spills over into social media is really from, people recording online meetings. A lot of meetings are done on Zoom and done on Microsoft Teams and all of that. So it's kind of, difficult to see that, to see whether people are recording things on their phones and putting it out on social media just so that they can get likes and all of that. So what I would recommend really is that it's important that the members of staff understand that confidentiality is key. They need to keep the matters of the organization confidential. Do you see what I mean? Such that, they should understand that when they do these sorts of things and it brings a lot of negative blowback to the company, ultimately it could affect them down the line, you see. So it's one of two things. It's either they opt to chase clout on social media, or they opt to, to keep information confidential in the workplace and not, subject the organization to negative blowback when it's really not even necessary, really. I don't understand why people do it, but that's just the world that we live in now. So it's something that I think organizations will continue to struggle with, even in this COVID-19 times. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ada. The next question is from Collins Olise, and Busayo, please, you answer this. His question says, talking about entrepreneurs, would you recommend that a startup must begin with a collaboration, or is it better to pick up with whatever available with you and then later seek for collaboration?
That's very, very good, and it's a very good idea if you look for collaboration. There are people that have been on track before you. If you locate such, it will be very good for your business. Strategic alliance and collaboration is the best to actually grow a small business. So it's not a bad idea for a startup to look for people who have better experience or who could actually support you in growing up.
Thank you, sir. My next and my last question goes to Ada. Ada, we've said a lot today about, COVID-proofing about your career and how to COVID-proof your career. My question is, what are those skill sets that you would say that, in your own opinion, is required for a post-COVID-19 world?
Okay, so thank you for that question, Tambari. So in my opinion, really, and there's no right or wrong answer to this question, to be honest. It really just depends on probably the industry where you find yourself, and possibly the industry that you're looking to pivot to in the event that things don't work out where you currently find yourself. Okay, so we've said that it's important that as individuals, as employees, as fresh graduates, it's important that we continue to evolve, that we continue to upskill. There is no cap on learning, you know what I mean? There's no cap as in, okay, once I get XYZ number of skills, I'm done. Learning is a lifelong event. Okay, but you would, as much as possible, try to target it towards whatever market you find yourself in, with an eye out on your plan B, right? So, for example, you're working in paid employment now, you're an associate in an advisory business and all of that. Yes, all the skills that you need to acquire in order to make you stand out in that role, financial modeling and all the rest of it. Yes, by all means, go ahead and acquire them, because those are the skills that will ultimately help you COVID-proof your job and ensure that you still remain in employment, as it were. But as every individual, it's advisable for every individual to have some sort of plan B, okay? And that's the truth of it really in these times. So if you have a plan B, okay, down the line, I would like to start my catering business, because you've discovered that you have a passion for cooking, okay? And that's something that ultimately you want to start your own catering business. So in your head, that's like your plan B, right? And this is something you want to do, after your current employment. Yes, then go ahead and acquire those skills that you need in order to make that plan B work. Obviously, you know that in order to run a successful catering business, for example, it doesn't just stop at knowing how to throw condiments together and cook a good meal, okay? There's also the marketing aspect of it. There's also the financial aspect of it, being able to handle your accounts and things like that. So go ahead and also begin to acquire those skills on the side, okay? Because those are the things that ultimately will help you down the line. So there's no cap. really. It just really depends on what you intend to achieve with those skills. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much, Ada. Thank you, Ada and Usayo, for the deep insight. Some of the key takeaways that I have gotten from this is be visible. It is important to do good work, but it's even in today's world, it's even more important that even as you do good work, you be visible about your work. See yourself, your work as your brand, and ensure that you put yourself out there so that you can attract your desired network. Another key thing I picked from today is COVID-proof or future-proof your career. Over time, we have seen, and I even mentioned that some job roles became redundant as a result of the lockdown measures that was implemented by most governments. So in that kind of situation, if you don't future-proof your career, you might end up becoming redundant because at a later date, the career that you have chosen or the career path that you choose, it's no longer like necessary for the world ahead of you. So it's important that we COVID-proof our career. It's important that we future-proof our career. It's important. I also got another key takeaway for me is to be tech savvy, because the world is going digital, and if we don't embrace digitalization, we will just all be left behind.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ada. Thank you, Busayo. Please, let's have your last words, final thoughts.
Okay, so do you want me to go first?
Yes, Ada, please.
Okay, so I just want to, over the course of preparing for this presentation and over the weekend, I actually came across a movie that I'd seen a while back. I'm a bit of a movie buff, so permit me to just give this insight. And the movie's title is The Pursuit of Happiness. And it couldn't have come as, and there were so many learning points essentially from that movie. You know, it really tells a story of being able to bounce back from adversity. Okay, and there's so many learning points. I can't go into all of them now, you know, but what I do just want to leave everyone with is that we need to, you know, we need to be resilient. Okay, resilience is actually a feature or, you know, a trait that all of us must seek to acquire, because it's that resilience that will help us bounce back even from adversity. So in the event that you do lose your job, in the event that your industry is facing a lot of challenges in this COVID-19 times, that's not an excuse to throw up your hands and say, oh, I give up, you know, there's nothing else to do, I'm going to go back to my village and all of that. That's not to say that people living in their villages, that's not to denigrate anyone who's living in his village, but you get my point. So essentially, you know, I just want us to understand that setbacks come with this territory called life. And when we do experience those setbacks, if we do experience those setbacks, we need to use it as motivation to actually work harder, reinvent ourselves, and bounce back even better. And I'm sure, I'm really positive that we will get through this. And while we're getting through this, please remember to stay safe. And thank you very much for your attention today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ada. Usayo, please, your final thought.
Okay. I'd like to say that don't ever be afraid to take on new challenges. In my career, I have seen things turning around over and over. I mentioned earlier, I was out of job about a decade ago, and today I'm sitting over a business. And so your story can actually be better than mine, only if you can agree to take on new challenges, like Ada mentioned, resilience, and be determined that you are a success. And with that, you'll get to the peak of your career. So I wish you all well, and please stay safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Busayo. So we've come to the end of today's series. We thank our audience. Without you guys, without all of you, we wouldn't even have what we're having now. So we thank you very much for participating. We thank you for being very engaging. This is a continuous series, so we will be having another section next week, Wednesday. So please feel free to join in again, because you would agree with us that this has been very enlightening, and we want to continue, we want to keep this going for as long as we can. So thank you very much, and bye-bye from me.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah.